Our continuation of our State of the Race here on News Nation Now. We got into this when Larry Sabato was on a little bit earlier, but did not have a chance to dig into some of these states. The 53% chance of victory for Kamala Harris is nationwide now, with 46 or almost 47% for Trump. You know, again, this is not much more than a coin flip race ahead of the vice presidential debate tomorrow night. The advantage for Harris, if there were no leans, in other words, if every state that is even slightly in her column went her way, would be 274 electoral votes. You see it up there, versus 264 for Trump. So that's about as close as you can get. And right now, when you talk about states that are leaning, they're not leaning by much, like Arizona, for example. You talk about how close things are. The polling average is less than a point in Arizona, 0.7% in a state that was decided by 10,000 votes last time. Now it's a 54% lean in terms of win probability towards Donald Trump. But like the national race, that's not much better than coin flip territory, and neither are the big three across the blue wall, because the best path to victory for Harris, if she wants to get to that 274, is to bring home Michigan, Wisconsin, and Pennsylvania. Now, Wisconsin is interesting because of what Larry and I were talking about, the polling differential in states like this. So even though the Harris win probability in Wisconsin is at 54%, and she's up almost 2 points, in the average of the polls, a 1.7% advantage as it goes right now in the average of all the polls that we look at Decision Desk HQ. Trump in the past has far outperformed the polling, particularly in Wisconsin. So right now, if everything was steady, Trump would probably win this state by 8 points if the polling right now is the same as it was in 2020, if you get that. But that's kind of the situation. That's why it's so hard to predict these states. And across the blue wall, Michigan's probably her best bet, where she has the 63% win probability. And Pennsylvania's the one it'll probably come down to. And there in Pennsylvania, you're only talking about 53% for Harris. If she wins now in Pennsylvania, she's in pretty good shape. But winning Pennsylvania right now is anything but a done deal. So when we start to play around with probabilities and possibilities, you start with 232 in her column, 270 needed to win, and 219 for Trump. But if you start going like this and she wins, again, Wisconsin is not guaranteed. She needs it. Michigan is probably a better bet. She needs it. It only gets her to 257. Now, we talked about these states earlier. Georgia's probably leaning Trump now. So that's a now 35 for Trump. There's 16 more in North Carolina. He needs that, but he doesn't have it yet. I gave it to him for this sake of argument, but that's not a done deal. Arizona, we just showed you, couldn't be closer. So even if Trump wins Arizona, it only gets him to 262. Nevada has been advantaged Democrat for a while and still is. And now, even on our map, we start with Nevada leaning blue. So that one is in her column, sort of. So where are you now? You're at 262, 257. We've taken 6 of the 7 toss-up states off the map, and we've just left the big one, Pennsylvania. So that's the 19 votes, and why people say often that it's all going to come down to Pennsylvania. Well, if you make Pennsylvania lean to the red, then it's over the top for Trump. And if Pennsylvania and its 19 electoral votes go blue, you're over the top for Harris. That's where we were, right? 272, 262. It's